Do you ever wonder if it's really possible to live well without spending a fortune every month? I used to ask myself the same question, because for a long time, I believed that financial security meant having more money, more stuff, more everything. But over the years, I've come to realize something deeply comforting. Peace of mind doesn't have a price tag, and a meaningful life doesn't require a massive budget. At 66 years old, living on a modest income, I've learned how to enjoy a simple, steady life, spending about $1,080 each month. And yes, that covers all my basic needs and even a few small luxuries. Now, I know that number might sound surprisingly low, especially here in the United States, where the cost of living feels like it keeps climbing. But this isn't about cutting corners or going without. It's about choosing what truly matters, finding comfort in simplicity, and discovering that less can often mean more. In this video, I'll walk you through every part of my monthly expenses, from utilities and groceries to internet and healthcare. I'll also share the values and decisions that helped me build a lifestyle I love, without financial stress hanging over my head. If you're looking for peace, stability, and a more thoughtful way to manage your money, I hope this gives you a bit of encouragement. 1. Mindset before money. Why less can be more? Before we get into numbers and bills, I want to talk about something more important, your mindset. Because when it comes to living simply and peacefully, the way we think about money is just as important as how we spend it. For most of my life, I thought financial success meant having more income, a bigger house, a newer car, fancier meals. But somewhere along the way, I realized that chasing more was leaving me tired, stressed, and never quite satisfied. I always felt like I was just one step behind, like I needed to earn a little more, save a little more, or do a little more to feel safe. Can you relate? But with time, something shifted. Slowly, I started asking myself, what do I really need to feel secure? What truly brings me joy? And most importantly, what can I let go of? That shift changed everything. I stopped measuring success by the size of my paycheck or the balance in my bank account. Instead, I began measuring it by how I felt each day. Was I rested? Was I present? Did I have peace of mind? Did I feel connected to myself and the people I loved? And here's the truth. Once I let go of needing more, I discovered I already had enough. I want to be clear. This isn't about settling. It's about choosing. Choosing a life with fewer complications and more intention. Choosing to spend money where it matters and let go of what no longer serves me. Choosing to trust that I don't need to keep up with anyone else. So if you've been feeling overwhelmed by your bills, your budget, or your financial future, I invite you to take a breath. You are not alone. There is no shame in living modestly. In fact, for many of us, it's the path to real freedom. Living simply isn't just about saving money. It's about reducing stress. It's about making space for what matters. It's about waking up in the morning and not worrying about how you'll make it to the end of the month. That, to me, is real wealth. In the next part, I'll walk you through how I apply this mindset to my daily life, starting with where I live and how owning my home has changed my relationship with money and security. Let's continue. 2. My home. A peaceful foundation. Let's talk about one of the biggest decisions that affects both your budget and your peace of mind, your home. For me, home is more than a place to live. It's a place to breathe, a space to feel safe, to slow down, and to rest. Over the years, I've come to realize that the way we choose to live, where we live, how much space we have, whether we rent or own, it all adds up to how we feel every day, not just how much we spend. I live in a modest townhouse in the Southwest, It's warm here most of the year, and while the summers can be hot, the winters are soft and sunny. That climate alone saves me money on utilities, but more importantly, it makes life feel gentler. One of the most important choices I ever made was to own my home outright. I haven't had a mortgage in over 15 years. I know that's not always possible for everyone, and it certainly wasn't easy for me at the time. But I made a decision years ago. If I couldn't afford the monthly payments, I wouldn't take on the debt. That meant buying smaller homes. Simpler homes. Sometimes older homes that needed a little love, but they were mine. No banks, no monthly payments hanging over me. I didn't always live this way. There was a time when I tried to qualify for a mortgage, but because I was self-employed and my income didn't meet the lender's formula, I was denied. And you know what? That turned out to be a blessing. Instead of taking it personally, I chose to look at it as a sign. I found a smaller place that I could buy outright, and I never looked back. Not having a mortgage doesn't just save money. It gives me freedom. It gives me space. I don't lie awake worrying about rent hikes or whether I'll be able to stay in my home another year. That's a level of comfort that's hard to describe. Especially as we get older, the stability of knowing where you'll sleep each night is worth more than almost anything. Now, I know that some people prefer renting, and in some cases, that makes sense. Maybe you want flexibility to move, or maybe home maintenance feels like too much right now. I understand that, but for me, paying someone else's mortgage through rent, knowing I'll walk away with nothing in the end, just never sat right. Even though I own my home, I still have regular expenses like property taxes and homeowners insurance, and I pay a homeowners association fee each month. But compared to the cost of a mortgage or rent, these amounts are manageable, and because I planned ahead, I can cover them without stress. If I could offer one piece of advice about housing, it would be this: don't chase bigger. Don't worry about what looks impressive. Choose what feels peaceful. A smaller space that fits your budget is often easier to clean, easier to maintain, and easier on your heart. In the next part, I'll share how I handle transportation, another big expense for many people. You'll hear why I've never bought a new car in my life and how that one decision has saved me thousands of dollars over the years. Let's keep going. 3. My car. Simple, reliable, and paid off. For many of us, especially as we get older, owning a car is about more than just getting from one place to another. It's about independence. It's about the freedom to go to a doctor's appointment, stop by the grocery store when it's quiet, or take a scenic drive just to clear your mind. But owning a car also comes with expenses, and those can add up quickly if we're not careful. That's why I made a decision a long time ago that has saved me thousands of dollars over the years. I have never bought a brand new car, not once. And honestly, I don't feel like I've missed out on anything. My current car is over 10 years old. It's a compact Toyota I bought used from a private seller, and it has been one of the most dependable things in my life. It starts when I need it to. It gets me where I'm going. It's good on gas, and the insurance is low. That's all I need. When I was younger, I used to think I might eventually treat myself to a brand new car one day. But as time went on, that idea faded. Not because I couldn't afford it at certain points, but because I realized I didn't want to spend my money that way. A new car loses value the second you drive it off the lot. And the payments? I'd rather put that money towards savings or something that brings lasting peace. The truth is, I don't see my car as a status symbol. It's not a reflection of who I am. It's a tool, just like my refrigerator or my washing machine. It doesn't need to be shiny or impressive. It just needs to work. And when you think of your car that way, you stop feeling the pressure to upgrade or keep up with what other people are driving. Of course, a car, new or old, still has costs. There's gas, oil changes, tires, a occasional repairs, and insurance. I handle those by budgeting annually for things I know will come up and keeping a small emergency fund just for car expenses. That way, when something does happen, like I need new brakes or a battery, I'm not caught off guard. My car insurance is about $69 a month, but I pay it yearly to get a discount. That's $825 a year. I use a small local insurance company that's been great to me. They understand I'm a low-mileage driver and offer me a policy that fits my real needs, not some big corporate bundle I don't understand. And here's another thing I've learned about cars. If you take care of them, they'll usually take care of you. I keep up with regular maintenance. I don't ignore warning lights. And I try to drive gently. No racing to red lights, no hard braking, no unnecessary trips. It all adds up to a car that lasts longer, costs less, and runs better. Now, I know that not everyone feels comfortable driving as they get older, and that's okay. Some of my friends have chosen to give up driving and use public transportation, rideshare apps, or local senior transport services. If that works for you, there's no shame in it. What matters most is that you feel safe and empowered in your choices. But if you do own a car, or are thinking about buying one, here's what I'd suggest. Look for something used, with a good reliability record. Avoid loans if you can. Pay attention to the total cost of ownership, not just the sticker price. And most importantly, choose a car that fits your life, not someone else's expectations. There is dignity in driving an old car that's paid off. There is freedom in knowing you don't owe anyone a monthly payment just to get to the grocery store. That little Toyota in my driveway doesn't make a statement, but it's carried groceries, friends, laughter, and tears. It's taken me to family visits, volunteer work, and doctor appointments. It's reliable, just like I try to be. And every time I slide into the driver's seat, I'm reminded that the simple things often serve us best. Let's keep going. 4. My utilities. Managing the basics with wisdom. Utilities are one of those things we often don't think about until the bill shows up. But over the years, I've learned that small, steady decisions can make a big difference when it comes to keeping those monthly costs manageable and even enjoyable in their own quiet way. Let's start with the basics. Water, sewer, trash, electricity, internet, and my cell phone. Altogether, these are what I call my lifelines, the services that help me live comfortably and stay connected. Each month, I pay about $20 for water. I live in the Southwest, where water is carefully managed, and I try to use it thoughtfully. I take short showers. I only run the dishwasher when it's full, and I don't water lawns, just a few potted plants I love. I've found that being mindful of how much I use doesn't feel like a burden. It actually gives me a sense of responsibility and gratitude. Every time I turn on the tap and clean water comes out, I remind myself that this is a gift, not a guarantee. My sewer and trash bills are also very reasonable, just under $40 a month for both. I like that my trash service includes recycling, and I make an effort to sort things properly. I may live alone, but I try to be a good neighbor to the planet. It's one small way of giving back. Now, electricity. This is where I've made one of my favorite financial decisions in recent years. I signed up for a solar power program through my local utility company. I paid a one-time fee of $100 to join, and now I pay a fixed rate each month, about $61, no matter how much electricity I use. That has made such a difference, especially in the summer months when the air conditioning runs a lot. I don't have solar panels on my roof. I didn't want the hassle of maintenance, but I support solar energy through this community-based plan. It feels good to know I'm helping the environment while also saving money. My internet used to cost me $50 a month under a special 2-year deal. When that deal ended, it jumped to $81. I wasn't thrilled about that, but I've learned to be proactive. I keep checking their website for discounts, and I'm not afraid to call and ask for a better rate. You have to advocate for yourself, especially with companies that count on people staying silent. As for my cell phone, I use a company called Mint Mobile. It's just $20 a month, and it does everything I need. Calls, texts, internet. I used to pay more than twice that with a big-name provider. Now I pay for the full year up front, which brings the monthly costs down. And once it's paid, I don't have to think about it for 12 whole months. That's one less bill, one less worry. Altogether, my utilities add up to just over $200 a month, and every one of them serves a purpose in my life, keeping me clean, warm, connected, and informed. In the next part, I'll take you into one of the most personal parts of my budget: food, everyday purchases, and how I make room for little joys without overspending. 5. Groceries and everyday joys. Spending with intention. If there's one part of the budget that seems to change the most month to month, it's food. Groceries, a lunch out, picking up something extra at the drugstore. Those little purchases that feel small in the moment, but can add up over time. For me, I try to keep this entire category, groceries, eating out, and everyday household items, around $300 a month. Some months, it's a little more. Some months, it's a little less. But I've found that this number works for my lifestyle without making me feel like I'm missing out. Let's start with groceries. I love a well-stocked kitchen, but I don't buy more than I need. I've learned how to cook simple meals at home, using fresh ingredients when I can, and pantry staples when I can't. I plan meals based on what's on sale. I keep an eye on weekly ads, and I build my grocery list around what's affordable that week, not what I feel like eating, but what makes the most sense for my budget. I also buy in bulk when it makes sense, things like rice, beans, oatmeal, and canned tomatoes. These are inexpensive, store well, and can be turned into all kinds of meals. I freeze meat when I find it on sale and stretch it across several meals. I make soups, stews, and casseroles that are satisfying without being expensive. And I don't mind leftovers. In fact, I love them. There's something comforting about opening the fridge and knowing that lunch is already taken care of. I don't eat out often, but when I do, I treat it like a little celebration. Maybe it's lunch with a friend or a quiet breakfast at a local cafe. I don't go for fancy meals. I go for connection and comfort. And because I don't do it all the time, it stays special. Now, let's talk about those small but necessary purchases: the paper towels, dish soap, toothpaste, light bulbs. I include these in my monthly $300 too. And here's the trick: I don't shop out of habit. I shop with a list. I keep track of what I need, and I avoid browsing. Because I've learned that browsing is where my budget goes to disappear. But just because I'm careful doesn't mean I'm strict. I believe strongly in leaving room for joy. If there's a candle that smells like home, or a bar of chocolate I've never tried, or a pretty journal that invites me to write, I'll allow that. As long as it fits within the budget, I believe in letting little joys live alongside necessities. Because we don't just live to survive, we live to feel. Some people assume that frugal living means saying no to everything, but I've found it's really about saying yes more clearly. Yes to what matters. Yes to what truly serves me. Yes to what brings light without adding weight. In the next part, I'll share how I manage bigger expenses that only come once a year, things like insurance, taxes, and homeowners fees, and how planning ahead helps me avoid surprise stress. 6. Annual expenses. Planning ahead for peace of mind. Some of the most stressful financial moments in life come from being caught off guard. A bill shows up you weren't expecting, and suddenly your whole month feels upside down. That's why one of the most important habits I've developed in retirement is planning for my yearly expenses. These are the costs that don't show up every month, but absolutely will show up eventually. Things like property taxes, car insurance, home insurance, and homeowners association dues. I think of these as my quiet bills. They don't come often, but if I don't prepare for them, they shout. Take car insurance, for example. I pay about $825 each year. That comes out to roughly $69 a month if you average it out, but I pay it all at once to get a discount. Same with my homeowner's insurance, which is around $700 a year. That's about $58 a month in real terms. To make these lump sum payments easier, I set aside money each month in a separate savings account labeled annual bills. That way, when the time comes to pay, the money is already there. No scrambling, no surprises, no stress. I treat that savings transfer like a bill itself, because in truth, it is. My property taxes come twice a year, usually in November and March, and together they total about $820. Again, I break it down month by month, which helps me see the full picture of what I'm really spending to live in my home. It's not just about having no mortgage. It's about understanding and preparing for what homeownership does still require. Then there's my homeowners association fee. It's $61 each month, and although I don't use every amenity they offer, I appreciate that the grounds are clean, the trash is managed, and the neighborhood feels safe. Peace of mind sometimes comes in the form of someone else trimming the bushes. Planning for these yearly expenses has taught me a kind of financial mindfulness. I've learned not to treat big bills as emergencies, but as known events that simply require preparation. And that sense of readiness brings me so much comfort. I no longer feel that anxious jolt when the envelope arrives. I already knew it was coming, and I'm ready. It's also helped me feel more in control, because even though we can't control everything, health, the economy, unexpected repairs, we can control how we prepare. And preparation, in its quiet way, is a kind of power. In the final part of this video, I'll share how all of these pieces come together: my monthly budget, my values, and my emotional relationship with money, and why living simply has brought me more joy than any paycheck ever did. 7. The joy of enough. A life that truly fits. As we come to the end of this video, I want to leave you with something more lasting than numbers, because this has never really been just about how much I spend. It's about why I spend the way I do. It's about building a life that feels right, not just one that looks right on paper. When I add up all my monthly and annual expenses, my lifestyle costs about $1,080 per month. That's around $12,960 per year. And when I see that number, I don't feel deprived. I feel proud, because what it represents isn't just frugality, it's clarity, it's freedom, it's peace. Living this way has given me the kind of stability I didn't always have when I was younger. Back then, there were credit card bills, rent increases, and that constant voice in the back of my mind asking, "Will I be okay?" I don't hear that voice anymore, not because I have more, but because I've learned to live with less and love it. Some people might look at my lifestyle and think it sounds too simple, but what I've learned is that simplicity is not the same as sacrifice. Simplicity is spacious. It makes room for quiet mornings, homemade meals, unhurried walks, and deep conversations. It allows me to pay attention to life, not just rush through it. I still have joy. I still have comfort. I still have treats and fun and laughter. What I don't have is debt, or pressure, or fear that I can't afford to be myself. And I want that for you too. I want you to know that whatever your income is, whatever stage of life you're in, you can shape a life that fits you. Not one that fits someone else's expectations, not one based on advertising, comparison, or fear, but one that feels good, deep in your bones. One that makes you feel safe, settled, at peace. That might mean downsizing. It might mean letting go of things you once thought you needed. It might mean changing how you shop, how you eat, or how you plan. But I promise, what you gain in return is worth so much more than what you give up. Because what you're really gaining is yourself. So if this video gave you a moment of peace or clarity, or even just made you feel a little less alone in this journey, we've done something good together today. I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments. You don't need to share numbers if you don't want to. Just tell me how you feel. What's on your heart? What this brought up for you? And if you found something helpful here, consider subscribing or sharing this with someone you care about. We're all figuring this out, one gentle step at a time. Thank you for spending this time with me. Take good care of yourself. You deserve peace. You deserve rest. And most of all, you deserve a life that fits you, just as you are.